as we come down the Ullman Straight. Yes, he is much closer.
Very, very close behind, under 0.2 of a second. That's going to come down to under 1/10 of a second if he decides to go for the move. He's going to think about it. A little bit of a Pruitt fade there from Krasowski as they go down into sunset.
Doesn't completely cover it off, though, and Fujita is through. He is our new leader coming off the final turn, but I don't know that he can hold it because Krasowski gets a great launch off the corner. He goes off to the right-hand side as Kazuki once again defends behind them. Olivier giving watch, and he's going to take advantage of it. He's going to try and poke his nose through to take second place off the hands of Daniel. It's not done yet. It carries on down into 3.
It keeps going here. Olivier trying to be later on the binders, and he's going to shut the door. That is Dominic Olivier up into P2. Krasowski demoted in 3 corners, 2 positions. Abner Acosta worked in on the high lane there on Josh Daniels to see if he's got anything. They're going to come out of the corner. Noah's Ark here, 2x2, and a big checkup. But here comes Josh Daniels thinking about making this 3 wide.
3 wide, and he absolutely sends it in deep. O'Brien tries to as well, but it's the high line that counts for the 28. No, it doesn't. It bites him. He falls backwards. Now the 77 back forward. And look at this. We didn't even account for Acosta. Acosta stuck through all of them, and he is going to manage to get up to 3rd potentially here, sending it deep into 1. He's got it. Coming down into Sunset Bend, he's going to have to go around the outside. Pavolano, we've seen his defense before. He knows how to do this, but can he do it against Kwok? No, maybe not, because Kwok carries speed and just finds a gap around the outside. That'll give him the inside coming into turn 1. The job isn't completely done. He could maybe see an over-under from Michael as he takes it wide into the first turn.
Yeah, I think you're right. Looking as we set up, trying to come through here, we're on board with Raymond Day, looking around, trying to find a way to get through these guys, taking a look as they both defend deep onto the inside, holding enough ground to not make contact with the power down, and just making it around number 87, Peter Nuva. Oh, little contact there too. Little contact.
Little bit of contact, a little bit of off track there for Raymond Day, but he's able to keep everything gathered up back under him. But he's going to be a little bit compromised here as he tries to get by Peter Newhook going down into Verth. They are really trying to hold on to this here, working their way, and they're still side by side.
Oh, Raymond Day doing the best he can in a disadvantaged line, trying to come down into here. Look at that, just getting his nose ahead, holding on to that position on the outside.
Here comes Andy.
Seems to like that exit of that corner. The car handles it well. Aggressive defensive move from Gernot Frisha, almost pushing him off into the grass, but he's given just enough space and a lot of wheel spin there from Frisha. Unfortunately, that puts him slow out of the horseshoe, side by side, coming up in an NASCAR bend. Mikko Lino trying to do it the hard way around, and he's got it.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Both Imola and Sebring saw intense action for our two series. Today's event brings us a pair of Grand Prix circuits, but with two very differing natures. Will they both give us a good show? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the PRL GT Pro Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up is the Hungaroring. MX-5s aren't the typical fare around here, so let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to the Hungaroring. Situated just northeast of Budapest, this Grand Prix circuit has racked up a stunning history in just a little more than 30 years of existence. Its biggest claim to fame was holding the first Formula One race inside the Iron Curtain at a time when the Cold War was at its peak. But most fans don't associate this 2.7-mile or 4.38-kilometer track with politics. No, its 14 turns make it tight and twisty, with a reputation for few places to overtake. For a long time, it was renowned for processional races in which qualifying is of the utmost importance. But the past couple decades have seen a litany of utterly wild and unpredictable races that greatly overshadow the single-file events of before. The majority of passing takes place into Turn 1, while some battles do carry on into Turn 2. But be careful about how greedy you get, because the steep drop in elevation makes it easy to go wide. Other than that, Turn 12 is often the only other realistic place to sneak by your opponent. Perhaps the scariest and trickiest of the corners is 4, which presents a blind and crooked entry into a high-speed flick. Though modern times have seen a paved runoff added to it to make it safer, that's considered out of bounds, and drivers will find themselves being told to give back time if they abuse the exit. Built with fans in mind, the track sits in a natural bowl, allowing great from most sides of the venue. It's easy to see why it's become a fan favorite on the F1 calendar, and there's little doubt it'll continue to see lots of racing for years to come. Well, DJ, we come to Hungary with MX-5s trying to ply their trade out here. So how is this going to differ from what we've seen in the GT cars more recently?
Well, Joe, it's actually, I think, going to lead to a little bit of a closer race, because unlike the GT cars that do suffer from that aero wash coming through some of the more medium speed corners on this track, these MX-5s aren't really going to suffer from that. All of their grip is going to be generated by the tires, all of that mechanical grip. So you should see some closer racing, specifically in the second sector. Now, the overtaking opportunities are going to be about the same. Anticipate a lot of good battling going down into Turn 1 and into 2, some fight back into 3. The same danger area, though, always applies. You've got to watch out for those serrated curbs on the edge of Turn 4. And I think we may just see a little bit of scrappiness at the end of the lap in Sector 3, coming down into 12, 13, and 14. But the biggest thing there is that drivers are going to be able to stick very, very close behind one another and just try to focus on getting a big run off of Turn 14 and down the straightaway.
All right, well, we'll watch out for those spots, but in the meantime, let's take a moment to mention that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Let's take a glance now at our championship situation with Bradley Hawley leading the points currently, his 2 wins, definitely helping him out a fair bit. Bergquist 18 behind at this stage. He's definitely going to try and start beating him out on the track. Jacques Boucher a little distance behind, followed by a 10-point gap down to Parker Muirhead. And then it's a close battle between himself and Peter Newhook, last season's champion, sitting in 5th place currently. What about in the team's championship?
Well, in that team's championship, Miata Mafia pulling out a 25-point advantage over Oh God Right Turn. So Oh God Right Turn's got some work to do to try to catch them up, but they don't have to worry about anything from behind them because Crikey No Brakes sits around 50 points behind them, but they're locked in a very tight battle with 5-5 Motorsports only 2 points ahead. Fossil Racing Skull 135 points back of their leader, about 9 points ahead of 6th place, which is Fossil Racing Bone.
And of course, for our race details today, we have our typical 35-minute event here for round 6 out of 10. So now halfway through the season. That's why I'm saying you need to see guys like our 2nd place runner Bergquist start to make some inroads. Open setup in this series, and even though these MX-5s are relatively simple race cars compared to some of the stuff the big boys run, there is still speed to be found and comfort out there, of course. Drive-through penalty at 13 incidents, and its qualification at 17. A lot of paved runoff, so drivers will have to be wary about how much they push the limits here. And then they have bonus points. We will see drivers trying to go for that here now as we look at the qualifying. Pole position going to offer at least 1, and Cervantes returns with quite a bit of speed after his opening round win. Looks like he is ready to try and see if he can add to that tally.
Yeah, as we watch there, whoa, that's a little bit of a wrong way to take that turn for Danny Cervantes. So he is clearly pushing despite the fact that he does have pole position. Your championship leader, who is on your screen right now, Bradley Hawley, he sits back in 3rd place, about 0.3 of a second off, and Kelly Greenhoe splitting Cervantes and Hawley.
So Hawley across the line, and that one is quicker, but only marginally. That's not going to move him higher than that 3rd place, unfortunately. Peter Newhook looks like he might be on a very quick lap here. The 87, let's see if he can get himself maybe onto the front row, potentially onto pole here. He's looking like he's about half a second up on his best time right now, but he's starting to lose it here in the last part of the lap. His timing is once again returning close to that 0 mark off of the final turn. A 2:03.4 for him is going to stay there, as he unfortunately looks like that lap was deleted. So nothing for Peter Newhook. Still has about 2 more laps that he can try and get a quick one in.
Well, and Joe, as you said earlier, it's very easy to pick up those off tracks around here. There you can see the car directly in front of Newhook, probably picking up one of those, just running wide at some of the areas that are very F1-atized, let's call them, for this circuit. Plenty of paved runoff around here, places that you can run the car wide, and that running wide is really the concern. It's not necessarily about cutting curbs. The only real place you would potentially see a cut course penalty is coming coming through turns 6 and 7, that chicane after you rise up the hill. Other than that, it's all about just keeping the car within the limits and not carrying momentum too far to the outside.
Almost looks like we're going to battle for a track position here, and unwilling to give way, it seems, in the process. So this is causing a lot of consternation as the 25 of Cervantes really wants to stay ahead. In the meantime, I'm watching also Randy Gross, who looks like he just improved. Went up to 16th with a 2:04.5 for him. Nice little addition to his qualifying attempts as we look over at the 72 now here on screen.
Oh, and the 72 falling victim to those serrated curbs on the outside of turn 4. No matter what car you're in, Joe, you have really got to watch it there. It can massively catch you out and throw the car around no matter how much or little horsepower you are putting through the rear wheels.
Yeah, it was Galinotto who had that incident there, and we're now watching Pete Thomas. Looks like he's slightly up on his lap, but he's still got a long way to go. He has a 2:04.5 right now, sitting in that 17th position. The 99 coming down into turn 11. Easy to go wide through here. Let's see if he keeps it within the track boundaries. He's slightly off the apex. Hard to see from that angle where the track edge was, but I think he kept within the boundaries. So far, so good, but he is hovering now at about 0.0 on his best lap. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to improve.
I'm not sure if he is either. Just looking at his times on that, he was able to go green in that second sector, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough to save him from a subpar first sector.
Out of the final corner and across the line, it unfortunately does not improve. 2:04.634 for Pete Thomas. Has to go around at least once or twice more for him to find a better position. Look at Bradley Holly now, who could potentially go quicker. He needs a very good final sector here in this 184. Still sits about half a second off of Cervantes, and he comes around turn 13, weaving back and forth, slow, frustrating corners, these back-to-back hairpins, and in fact, he is going to park it. This will end his qualifying most likely, as I don't think he's got time to get back out on track.
No, nor do I. Only about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in this session. 2 minutes, 30 seconds rather to go left in the session. And by the time he comes in and out, that will not be enough to get a flyer down. We watch here Peter Newhook on your screen as he works his way through the fiddly bits of this track, bringing it down to that long left-hander before coming back onto the pit straight here. Newhook trying to gain a little bit of time.
Out of the final turn, it's going to be tight. Looks like he might be able to improve. Oh, but he goes way too wide, and that lap absolutely will not count for him. And he's going to park it as well. So that's his qualifying over. Bergquist is next across the line. 2:03.5 for the 64. Kevin Bergquist goes up into 7th, putting Ryan King's another position down. We watch the 77 there, Raymond Day, down through turns 2 and 3. He's, let's see, is he on his final lap? I think he might be.
I think he is. Mark Kalin, by the way, able to improve there a little bit, bumping his way up to 4th place. So that'll be a provisional 2nd row of the grid start for him. Raymond Day now working his way up the hill through turn 5. That's such a tricky corner there, Joe. It starts off relatively flat, and then as you rise up the hill, a little bit of off camber there as you try to get onto the power. And then obviously through that very bumpy 6 and 7, you've got to be super aggressive through there without riding too much of the sausage curves.
Just under a minute left to go now. Yeah, again, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to make it back around in time to start a new one. Everybody in front of him should have the ability to. Daniel Williams just coming across the line to start his next one. Ian Cabana, Jeffrey Smith. So those probably going to be our last 3 that we'll see back around to finish a flyer here today. Raymond Day now coming into turn 13. Doesn't look like a quick one from what I'm seeing on the timing board.
No, and that was a very squirrely entry there into the corner. You saw the rear end really start to slide out on the 77. You do not want to be sliding these cars super wide there. I think that has got to be Raymond just experimenting a little bit. I don't think he's necessarily going for a quick lap here.
Oh, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. He crossed the line in time, and that means Stanton is going to be our first to take the checkered flag. So he is done. Let me double check actually on Day here. No, Day did get across in time. So he'll have one last shot, and he'll be the last one through if he chooses to carry on with this. Ryan Kings is going to be next, but it doesn't look like he's on a fast one. He's been hot and cold so far this season in terms of performances, and this looks like a cold one as he takes it down to pit lane.
Next up is going to be Parker Muirhead. Muirhead doing a little bit better there through the first two sectors. Not personal best, but faster than Ian Cabana up ahead of him. So if he's able to keep this together, he may be on for a little bit of a shot here. Let's see what he's got as he comes out of that final corner. Parker Muirhead going to cross the line, and it won't be faster.
Pete Bladon the next one, but I think he's slowing. Yes, he is. Pete Bladon is done as well. Jeffrey Smith could be the next one in the 7:19. Looks like he might actually be a second off of his best time, and that means Raymond Day will be the last one with an opportunity to go quicker unless we get something miraculous out of Smith, and Day parks it. So Day is now done. That might just do it. Let's stick with Jeff just in case here to see what happens if he carries on. He is going to keep going and at least try and complete the lap. There really isn't much to that except for just some practice here. If it is slow, goes quite wide off the final turn. I think he managed to stay within the boundaries. He did, but it was fairly slower than his best lap. Okay, then that means that our grid is now set today for round six in the MX5 Cup Series. And up at the top of it, Danny Cervantes manages to take the pole. Kelly Greenhoe will be starting his outside with Bradley Holly. Going to try and make it a third win so far this season from third on the grid. Mark Kalin will be next to him. You've got Peter Newhook starting in fifth and Raymond Day in P6. Kevin Bergquist, who is second in the points, starts all the way down in seventh today. Ryan Kings, P8 for him, as Ian Cabana starts from ninth and Parker Muirhead rounds out your top 10.
Starting off in 11th, it's going to be Jerome Stanton, followed by Patrick Calgill with Jacques Boucher and Jeffrey Smith in row 7. Baron Hilton will be to the inside of row 8, followed by Randy Gross with Pete Thomas 17th and Daniel Williams in 18th. Behind them, it's Jason Larson, and Robert Gallinotto rounds out your top 20.
Malcolm Foster is 21st today, Pete Bladon 22nd, then it is Todd Lewis 23rd. Stacy Hunter, P24, and Adam Young, who returns to the series once again, starts 25th without a qualifying lap. I think he intentionally wanted to try and start from the back today, try and get his sea legs back underneath him. And before we get started, we want to mention our sponsor so that you can make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more at majorsgarage.com, or use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. We have a link in the description below that directly applies our special offer. Looks like most of the cars making their way out to the grid here for this early morning event. Only 7 degrees Fahrenheit on the track itself here today at about 8:30 in the morning. Virtual standard time with a little bit of wind on top of things. And I think all we're waiting on now is Kelly Greenhoe and Jerome Stanton. Then we are ready to get rolling here for our standing start, as we're used to in this series. And Greenhoe just taking his sweet time on this one. Jerome Stanton as well. Hopefully they're not starting from pit lane. Both have pretty decent starting positions for this race. And 25 cars that will be taking part in today's race. A little bit of chatter amongst them as they wait to go. And it looks like they are ready to go now as the engines start to rev and the lights come up. Green flag is out, and it is a good start for Cervantes. Greenhoe did not make it to the grid. Bradley Hawley trying to follow him down to the first corner, but it wasn't a phenomenal start for that 184, and we had a problem in the back. Two cars making contact, it appears. Looks like Thomas and Larson. Now they brake hard down into turn one, a little bit of 3 wide in the mid-pack. Are they going to be able to make it through this notoriously chaotic first turn? It looks like the answer is yes.
Yes, they are, and that 3 wide was Raymond Day down to the inside, Bergquist near him, and I believe Ryan Kings as well. But Cervantes continuing to lead here quite well, doing a good job to get himself ahead. Hawley, though, trying to fend off a little bit. Ooh, banging doors in the back between Ryan Kings and Raymond Day.
Yeah, things are looking pretty intense here, and I think we had a problem for Todd Lewis out of turn 3. We'll get back to that in a second. He has unfortunately spun it, and I think he managed to stay out of the wall, out through turn 5 now, and into the chicane of 6 and 7. It is Cervantes leading Hawley with Kalen behind them in third, and Newhook, great job for him, up 1 spot from the start into 4th.
And you're seeing some of those lead drivers really pushing the car through there. And the way you can really tell that is they're taking that car to the extreme limit of the track. You can see that dust getting kicked up as they go. Just absolutely pushing, trying to find an advantage. And I think that's especially prescient here for Danny Cervantes. He knows the speed that Bradley Hawley and the 184 have, and he wants to try to build a gap.
In fact, they are building just a little bit of a buffer down to Mark Kalen, one of our onboards here today, giving us his perspective. The 62 has about 8 tenths to make up, and we're not even done with the first time around. Good news is wow, they really take a lot on the exit there of 13. The good news is they should get, I think, some slipstream down the front stretch.
Most certainly, Joe, and they will be able to take a big chunk out of everybody. I anticipate needing to be within about 3 to 4 tenths of a second to maybe be looking at a move, but you'll be able to feel that draft in around upwards of 8 tenths of a second. So that should be about where that draft starts to factor out.
Nobody able to make a move up at the front of the field as they all stay single file. Got a little bit of a pass with Muirhead trying to work on Cabana behind them. Not able to get by. So he'll stay back in 10th position. Down into turn 2 now. Hawley starting to get ever closer to Cervantes.
Yes, he is, and we have seen both the patience and aggression out of Bradley Hawley over the course of this season. He is a driver that is very, very content to sit back and wait, but if he smells the merest of an opening to be able to attack, he goes on into full aggressive mode. He is a real treat to watch drive in that regard.
He's got it down to about 3 tenths of a second most of the time. It looks like Kalen's starting to respond as well. At times starting to creep closer to Bradley Hawley down through the chicane. Once again, a lot of drivers taking a fair bit of those curbs as they can in these little pliable MX-5s. And around the back half of the course, look at this now. Hawley is really breathing down the neck as we jump a little farther back here. That was Kalen and Newhook we were looking at there for a second, and Hawley has got it ever closer. Here's one of those passing zones you mentioned, DJ, down into 12, but I don't think he's there.
No, he's not quite close enough. You really, really have to be under the rear end of the car in front of you to get a move done down into 12. It is possible, but very difficult. But unfortunately, Bradley Hawley lost a couple of tenths of a second there on that run. I thought for sure that he was going to be able to get something on Cervantes, but Cervantes ran a little bit wide as they take multiple different lines there through that final corner. Let's see how it plays out a little bit. Cervantes able to have a little bit more speed on corner exit, but Hawley, with the help of the draft, is going to tuck up right behind.
Gets it down to about 2 tenths of a second, but they have to hit the binders, and he can't do anything about it. We're seeing our top 4 pair off into 2 sets there. And look at the battle between Kalen and Newhook, both of them carrying onboard cams for this evening and giving us their perspective down into turn 2. Much quicker entry for Kalen, maybe not as good of an exit as they swing back through 3 and down the hill.
Down the hill again, all 4 drivers here just exerting some patience. We heard race control talking about how that was a big thing that they wanted to see have happen. No scruffy races. We now ride on board with Bradley Holly, that absolute look of determination that we've so come used to see here out of the 184.
Yep, Holly just watching closely to that rear bumper of the 25. And I think, we're having connection issues with Muirhead behind him. So if you see a little bit of strangeness going on in our timing and scoring, that's what's happening there. So not having any sort of slip-ups from him quite yet. And this is starting to look bigger and bigger in the windscreen of the 184. Cervantes, I'm not sure how long he'll be able to hold on to this, the way that Holly is just stalking him.
You're very right, but this final sector is really what's key. We've seen Holly get very, very close here and then lose out a little bit through these final 2 corners of 13 and 14. He has really just got to nail the exit as they come down and through. All right, Holly taking a leaf out of Cervantes' book here, taking a later apex. You saw him earlier just trying to almost diamond off the corner. Now he's taking a little bit more of an oval line. That's going to keep him under 0.3 of a second, and that gap is falling.
Closing in. He could actually have an attack this time if he wants it. No defense from Cervantes yet. And no, Holly breaks and stays in line behind them. Overshooting the corner, that is Peter Newhook, also having connection issues. And it looks like we got a change between Kings and Stanton. Ryan Kings now up to 5th from 8th on the grid.
And that was just a textbook head game maneuver. Bergquist able to get in the head of Stanton, poke his nose to the inside, and Stanton just massively overran the corner. And that is what pushed him out wide.
We were remarking before the race started, before our coverage started, that Kings seemed like he was a little bit inconsistent. And it looks like he's really figured this track out now, because he's been pushing his way forward, and he's still only 2.8 seconds behind our leaders, so he's not really losing that much time. But look at how close Bergquist, Stanton, and Day are behind him.
Yeah, it's really turning into a train here with Ryan Kings leading it off. And Joe, Ryan's starting to remind me of another driver that we have the pleasure of covering in the Precision Racing League, Mr. Sneaky himself, Takeshi Kita. Not always the best qualifying on Thursday nights in the Formula 3 series, but then the race comes around and he is absolutely electric. And I'm getting a very similar vibe out of Ryan Kings.
And Kings is not afraid to try and make some moves as well. From what we've seen, his performance at Long Beach was definitely a standout. Ooh, he sends it in deep down into 12, though. And thankfully does not lose the spot after running just a little wide off of there. He's got to try and get a little bit more clear of Bergquist, because if Kevin gets a decent exit off of 14, this is going to be a great chance for him to try and get that spot right back.
Well, and you can see the differing lines there. Kings letting the car really run wide at the apex to carry that momentum, whereas behind him, Bergquist was taking a little bit more of a traditional line and trying to square off the corner a little bit. He's coming on strong here is Kevin Bergquist. Doesn't poke his nose out for an attack, but if he's able to get turn 1, that's Holly around!
What happened to Holly in turn 1? He had contact. Mark Kalin got into the back of him, and that absolutely punted the 184 in a complete 180. He's able to get back going, but only in 10th.
Oh my goodness, and I just took a look at the replay there. You'll see it on your screen. It just looked like Mark Kalin completely missed his braking zone. You can see the car getting a little bit squirrely as Kalin starts to apply the brakes. I think he may have had a little bit of a rear brake lockup there and tried to get off of the brakes to try to correct it a little bit. Watch here. You can see there's the little squirrel. That's just that hint of a brake lockup, and as a result, Kalin had to back off of the brakes and reapply and wasn't able to slow down in time.
Eventually able to get it going, but Holly now has work to do. And wonder if the pit strategy might be the way to get into it. We're about 10 minutes into this race. The window could open up here. I think this is a long enough lap. He could try and pit. and get himself some hot laps as we jump back forward once again. A little bit of a pass attempt here from Raymond Day down into turn 12. Stanton to his outside in the green machine. He's going to stay out of his way and allow him through.
And Stanton's got to be careful there. That is Ian Cabana now that's coming up behind him. Very, very wide corner entry there coming through turn 13. Stanton may be a little bit of a sitting duck here. I think Cabana may have his number if he's able to get the power down.
Back onto the front stretch once again, not missing much up at the sharp end of the field. Cervantes, Kalen have spread apart. Newhook not close enough to attack, and plunging down into that first corner. It's looking to me like Day, Stanton, and Cabana are not interested in trying anything right here, but once again, cars going very wide, both Stanton, and it looks like Ryan Kings as well. Kings has got to be careful. He might get a slowdown penalty the way he returned so late.
Yeah, they've got to be very, very careful about that, Joe. And, that's a little bit of a move down to the inside for the 70 there of Jerome Stanton, trying to fight back. Ian Cabana going to see what he can do, trying to see if he can make a little bit of a crossover work coming down through turn 3. Not able to get the power down and go.
But he might try something daring here into 4. No, he decides to lift out of it. And they are going to stay in order. We already have one driver getting a drive-through penalty. Baron Hilton has already got the black flag waving at him. So we're not even halfway through this race, and we might actually get some DNFs from drivers getting disqualified, it looks like.
We very well may indeed. And Joe, my scoring right now tells me that 2 drivers that are up towards the pointy end of the field, Raymond Day and Ian Cabana, have gone off track 12 times already. And so that means they are flirting with disaster with that drive-through penalty.
Oof, it's going to be so easy to get one more. Remember, it's 13 incidents only, and then they're sent to the pit lane for a drive-through as we get another little side-by-side, but it looks like Stanton's going to back out of this one, so Cabana stays in 7th.
Yes, he does. Stanton looking very aggressive. These drivers trying to play around a little bit with some of the areas that I talked about. You can get a good overtake done if you are aggressive. I think both of them just trying to scrap their way towards a position the best that they can.
We might have a battle for P2. Kalen suddenly finds Newhook all over that rear bumper. He's within about 0.2 of a second. He's got the slipstream. No defense from Mark Kalen, but will they be able to make the corner? It seems like it's proven very difficult to spot your brake marker for MX-5s here at Hungary, and both of them get through, but behind them, that is not the case as Ryan Kings once again goes quite wide. And here we watch the onboard with Peter Newhook.
Yeah, you can see Newhook just looking his way into the corner, sees a little bit of an opportunity. Mark Kalen tries to close the door on him, but they're going to be side by side going down now into turn 3. Ooh, that's going to be Newhook trying to carry momentum around the outside, but the tail slips out a little bit. It's not going to work, but he's going to try to make it work again up through the treacherous turn 4.
Not quite there, and he is not going to be phased. Kalen isn't shaken off the racing line, but what this has allowed is Kevin Berquist to regroup and get back in the hunt there. He's also kind of pulling along Day and Kings. In fact, Kings is looking to the inside of Day down to the chicane and then thinks twice about it.
That is really a one-way street there, Joe. You cannot try to go too wide through there. The only thing you can do is just absolutely force a driver offline and muscle your way through. But, ooh, wide run there up ahead for Mark Kalen. I think he is feeling the pressure from Peter Newhook.
Well, we've already had a driver DQ'd, and that might be the quickest I've ever seen that happen. It was Baron Hilton after his black flag. In fact, I'm not even sure that he managed to serve it. But whatever the case, he was definitely given the black flag with a white cross, which here in iRacing means you are officially out of here. Meanwhile, watching from Mark Kalen, still holding station there in 2nd, but he's going to pit, and so will Newhook.
That's a little bit surprising to me, Joe. I would have assumed if I was Peter Newhook in this position, I would want to pit when Mark Kalen didn't. So maybe try to put a hot lap down. But both drivers coming down pit lane. It also looks like Bradley Holly and Patrick Cowgill going to be following them as well.
So Bergquist carries on. He is going to inherit the lead. Day second now, Kings in third. This is not the end of the pit window as far as we can tell. At least I wouldn't think so at a track like this, which tends to be a little easy on fuel consumption for the drivers. Down through turn 2, our new leading trio deciding who will be at the point of this field.
Right, and there you can see Raymond Day really pushing the car on corner exit of turn 3. That car getting a little bit tail happy. He's only about 0.3 of a second behind your new leader, Kevin Bergquist, really trying to be aggressive. You can see just how much he's chucking that car around corners.
One thing I love about these MX-5s is you really get a feel for the behavior of the car, of the nature of the driver by how much it leans. There's just so much roll in it, which is a lot more rare in race cars these days, especially higher end race cars. But these MX-5s meant to be simple, meant to be a lot like their road going compatriots, and that makes them an absolute treat to watch.
Yeah, it certainly does, Joe. And just a quick update on those drivers that came into the pit stops there. Peter Newhook had a bit of a slow stop and a bit of a slow time through the pit lane. He was about 2 seconds slower than Mark Kalin in front of him. So that gap has really ballooned out to about 2.5 seconds for Peter Newhook. Bradley Holly sitting about 3 seconds behind Newhook as well. So not the best run through the pits there for the Canadian.
Yeah, Holly was quicker than Newhook on top of that. So he's made up a little bit of time in that sequence. That's good news for him, especially depending on what happens with the rest of our drivers once they pit, which now includes Ryan Kings and Jerome Stanton.
Yeah, a lot of drivers opting to come down pit lane. I anticipate the window staying open for probably another 5 to 6 minutes or so. That's normally when we see it. We are getting reports that we have had a driver that is wrecked out of the race. That's Daniel Williams. This is Day trying to make the move on Bergquist. He's got it.
All right, great stuff here for what is temporarily for the lead. And strange thing with Williams, he just kind of steered it off the course, so I'm not sure if it's worth a replay on that one. Just didn't hit anything and basically came and parked it, so he must have been having some sort of issue, either technical or outside of the sim itself. Meanwhile, this is Day in the 77, the black and red. That is Bergquist in the red, white, and blue that you see chasing him on your screen. Starting to come to the end of the pit window. Ooh, a little wide in the first apex there from Day. They're going to have to get in here pretty soon.
Yes, they will. I imagine if not on this lap, probably the next lap is when you will see them come on down pit lane. And then it's going to be a battle of the virtual pit crews to see who is able to get up on by, and also to see where in regards to those drivers that have already pitted, specifically Danny Cervantes, how is he able to be doing? Now, looking at the last lap from Danny, he ran a 2:03.38. That is about 0.5 of a second faster than Raymond Day.
And critically for Cervantes, he's actually caught a little bit of traffic of cars who have not pitted yet. There you see them in front of him. That's Foster, Thomas, and Galinotto. His best hope is that they pit this lap and he won't have been held up hardly at all, because he's just now reaching the tail end of the trio.
Yeah, he's going to hope for them to pit, but Day and Bergquist both opting to stay out here. So let's keep our eye to see if any of these green and yellow machines decide to come on in. They've got 2 takers. That's the 7 of Bladon and Galinotto both coming in.
But it looks like Thomas and Foster do not, and they are battling for position right now, which means most likely we're going to see a little bit of a hold up for Cervantes unless he pulls some fancy footwork. Meanwhile, looking at Bergquist there as we come now back to Cervantes. And I think actually Cervantes might have a good shot at the move. In fact, yeah, he's getting very aggressive here on Malcolm Foster and is able to get by.
That's exactly what he needs to do, Joe. Just push his way forward as much as possible. If he loses any time behind these drivers, that is going to be absolutely detrimental to him coming through the end of everything. He needs to get by these guys as quick as possible, especially considering Raymond Day is in clear air.
Oof, this is going to be very interesting to watch. Usually we don't see strategy as varied as this. At least it's a little bit more uncommon. Got another driver in. Looks like Kelly Greenhoe has made it out onto the track after not being able to take the start of the race, but is a lap down and basically out of the hunt. Oh my goodness, this battle on screen. And Cervantes gets through in the chicane by Thomas. Now, he did dispose of them quickly, but that was not perfectly clean. He had to have been slowed down by that.
Well, he was slowed down on that last lap as well. He ran a 3:04.3. That's about a 10th off of Raymond Day, who is in pit lane. Day and Bergquist both in pit lane.
Okay, now we're starting to get reactions from the drivers who stayed out much longer than Cervantes, Kalen, Kings, and those drivers. In fact, Kings and Newhook have been carrying on that battle. Look at that, nearly reaching the rear end of that number 43, but Ryan goes way deep in the corner. Is that too deep, though? He opens the door. They're actually going to come together. Side-to-side contact. Newhook able to keep going, and he's got the spot.
Whoa, talk about taking an advantage there when somebody makes a mistake. Absolutely brilliant from Newhook.
Day is rolling, but Cervantes is by easily, so Raymond Day is nowhere to be seen trying to challenge. Kalen's going to be able to sneak through, but it looks like no, Larson is not stopped. Oh, going deep once again. A car not able to get slowed down in time, and Mark Kalen is the latest to escape to the runoff outside of turn 1.
And again, he's got to be careful. That is an off track, and we are seeing those numbers really stacking up for these drivers. You do not want to get a drive through here.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more by this point. And I'm a bit shocked that turn 1 is Calamity Corner today. I did not think it would be that difficult, but we've seen so many cars that miss the brake marker down into that first right-hander.
For sure, as we follow Patrick Cowgill here as he tries to close in, or Mark Kalen, but rather, as he's trying to close in on the back of Jason Larson, now working through the fiddly bit section. Not a lot of overtaking opportunity here for Kalen. He has just got to keep this clean.
Indeed, but in front of Kalen, Larson still needs to take his pit stop. He doesn't want to fuss about with that 13. He wants to just wait patiently for him to go away, because right now it doesn't look like he's being held up too badly. As long as Larson keeps it tidy through here. All of them off the apex, though, down through turn 11.
Yeah, nobody exactly on it. Remember, Larson still has to pit here. He's one of four drivers that hasn't come in. As Boucher decides to pull in, I should anticipate here that Smith will, Foster, Larson, and Lewis.
All right, so this should hand the lead back to Cervantes. Both Boucher and Smith are pitting. Foster finally comes in, freeing up Raymond Day, and Larson does as well. But that was enough that Kalen is under threat. It looks like Bergquist, as we see them coming around on the background here now, is starting to try and pull that fifth place away, what is now going to become a podium position amongst this trio. Bergquist looks to the inside. Kalen does not defend, holds around the outside, tries to cut back down in, and he doesn't have to worry about losing touch now. But behind them, watch out for the 87 of Newhook.
Yeah, Newhook is going to recognize that. I doubt he's going to try to take a move here down into turn 2. Indeed, he's just going to stay behind, but he is very, very close to the rear bumper of Kevin Bergquist. Bergquist running the car a little bit wide. I think maybe try to take a defensive line. That may cost him about a 10th, but he's able to carry some good speed. Newhook's just going to have to sit back and be patient.
1, 2, 3, and a line, all to decide the final step of the podium. Could be 4 pretty soon. King's starting to gain. We can't see it from this camera, but he's got it down to within a second on these three. There he is now. And once again, a little look from Newhook, just seeing if he could shake Bergqvist off the racing line, but it's nothing doing for now.
And that checked up Newhook a little bit in turn. Whoa, that was a little bit of an interesting look there for the 64 trying to make things happen. They're going to be side by side as they work their way up the hill, down through turn 9, single file again through 10.
I'm not sure if that was an actual look or if he was just offline. Looks like Todd Lewis is our latest victim of the track limits here today, and he's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. Less than 10 minutes left to go. And up at the front of this group, it is Kalen holding put in that number 62. Ahead of him, Raymond Day and Cervantes look like they don't have much of a battle going on right now. That could come closer together, but we'll keep you abreast of that story if it develops. Back onto the main straight. That was a good exit from Kalen, and he looks a little safer now.
Looks a little bit safer as there's some weaving starting to go on in the form of Kevin Bergqvist. He is worried about that draft from Peter Newhook.
Back to the racing line for the three of them. Oh, and once again, it's a little deep, this time for Bergqvist. Peter Newhook manages to get side by side. Much better exit for the plaid car. And the 87 is past. He is into fourth.
He is up and into fourth. Great job there for Peter Newhook.
Just phenomenal stuff. We still got a side-by-side battle between Muirhead and I think that's Boucher. Yep, this is down into turn 2. Really wants to cut into that apex, but there is that gray and blue car there. It carries on as it swings back through turn 3. Muirhead gets a little bit of an edge. Excuse me, Boucher does, but now as they come to the left-hander, this is not the place he wants to be. He lifts a little bit early. He still carries the speed through, goes a little wide. Is that one going to count, or is he going to be given a slowdown? It counts, and Boucher is going to move into 10th.
Great move there from Jacques Boucher. It is very, very tricky, especially with those serrated curbs, to get that move done, but he is just absolutely holding it out.
And the guy that's loving this is the 31 of Cowgill, another one of our onboards here today. He gained a ton of time watching those two just fight amongst themselves. Here is his perspective here coming through the back half of the course. Triple screen setup for this driver. Has definitely moved to up forward from where we saw him before, but the bad news is he must have lost some spots at the start because he's still exactly where he began this race in 12th.
Yeah, and you can see there just how much wheel he is having to put through into the corners there, readjusting himself a little bit as he straightens onto the straight. This is such a tricky section of track to be able to try to get right. Patrick doing a very good job with it.
Speaking of cars moving forward, I don't want to call it slow but steady but consistent, Adam Young has managed to move that 21 machine up from 25th, dead last on the grid, into 20th just by keeping the mistakes out here. So glad to see him back and rolling and getting into the swing of things as he breaks into turn 12.
Yeah, you can see him there doing a little bit of that iRacers lean as he comes in through the corner, just pitching his head into it, trying to get it around. A little bit of a wobbly line there coming off the corner. You may have wanted to carry a little bit more momentum, but he's going to take it down through the final corner here. Let's see what his line is like. A little bit better there for him. So we've got a car stationary in pit lane. That is Jason Larson.
Yeah, I was just watching that myself, and it doesn't seem like he short-fueled it because he's been in there for some time. That was an 11-second stop. It definitely wasn't a penalty. I'm a bit baffled as to what caused that, but we come back to Mark Kalin, and my goodness, he's got some friends now, but I don't know this party is going to be all that much fun. Newhook, Bergqvist, Kings, and Hawley all want what he's got.
Yes, they do. Oh, Newhook starting to get a little bit aggressive, playing the head game there, coming through turn 10. Ooh, wider line there coming into the corner. This is going to get interesting as that's Newhook losing some time. You see in the back there, I believe that's Bradley Hawley trying to take a look on Ryan Kings.
And a big development. Kalen's not going to be able to hold this podium position. He's been given a black flag for track limits. He is going to have to serve this, if not now, within the next lap or two. So that'll be a handy podium for Newhook if he can stay ahead. There peels off Mark Kalin. And I don't know if Newhook knew that that was going to happen, but he's got to be grinning ear to ear now.
Yes, he does, and with just over 5 minutes left to go, he has just got to try to keep out of the draft here as much as possible of Kevin Bergquist. He's got about a 0.4 of a second advantage, and remember, we said that's about the point you want to be when coming off at the corner to prevent any sort of overtake. The draft isn't going to be able to pull that car completely into your rear tailpipe if you have 0.4 or more.
Now, behind them, they've got a hungry driver, and in fact, I think we might have a pass brewing up. No, I thought for sure Bradley Hawley back there was going to try and stick his nose in. This is going to be an extra disappointing day for him if he cannot at least get back up to third where he was before, which is a possibility. He can see Newhook up ahead, but currently he is stuck behind a driver who's become a bit of a rival for him, Ryan Kingston. We've had a problem back here. What's going on?
It looks like Robert Gallinotto spun around there. Looks like Adam Young's able to pick up a couple of positions. I think Jason Larson, or Malcolm Foster, rather, may have lost out as well.
Yeah, Foster caused that spin. He got into the right rear quarter panel of Gallinotto, and that's what kicked that off. And my goodness, Hawley is getting very eager, trying to pass in places you don't normally see.
I don't know if he's trying to pass, Joe, or if he's just trying to get into the head of Ryan Kings. No, that's a pass. That's trying to get past. Is he going to try to have this down into the corner? Here he goes. You do not see that normally, but now this sets up a drag race into 12.
I'm trying to think the last time I've seen a pass into 11 finished up in 12. That is highly unusual and unorthodox, but Hawley made it stick. That's going to give him 5th place. We got another black flag, Gallinotto. I'm assuming that last little touch and spin sent him over the edge, so he is going to have to serve that. That won't affect our leaders. And 3 minutes left to go. Cervantes just crossed the start-finish line. They should have enough time. Yeah, 2:03 per lap, so it should be 3 laps left.
Yes, it should. And we watch here as they come on through, closing in behind. That's the 919 of Todd Lewis. It's a back marker. He's just going to stay out of the way here, I think.
Apologies, 2 laps to go here for our leaders, Newhook. And he's going to be able to get by Todd Lewis, who, as you mentioned, a lapped car, pulls off to the left-hand side. Bergquist now easily passed, doesn't interrupt at all.
No, he does not, but he did come back onto the racing line there a little bit in front of Kevin Bergquist before they went through turn 2, and I think that backed Bergquist off just slightly.
Just enough to give Newhook a bit of breathing space. Not enough to totally relax, though. This 3rd place is not locked down by any stretch of the imagination. Hawley's not, even though he made a very great pass there, it definitely cost him a lot of time. He's much farther back than what we saw before on this battle, and he still has to overtake a lapped car on top of it.
Well, and Ryan Kings is not making this easy for him as well. He is very much hassling the 184, trying to keep in his paces. Loses a little bit of time here in the middle part of this 2nd sector, and that's going to give Bradley some breathing room. But through the 1st sector, Kings was very, very quick.
Well, Danny Cervantes in the 1st round managed to get himself a win, but since then has not been having the best luck to show up. Had a decent run back at round 4, but 3 did not start. It's a white flag, 1 more to go, and a gap of 3 seconds over Raymond Day behind.
3 seconds. He should be able to breathe relatively easily here, but nothing is easy when it comes to the Hungaroring, so Cervantes just needs to keep all his mental acuity together.
So will we see a change behind them? Looks like Newhook's starting to get a little bit far away from Bergquist as well. So that's working out well for him. There in the background, you can see them coming through. And Lewis is now letting others past as well. I think he just gave the nod to Bradley Holly, who's going to be able to overtake, but might be too little too late for Holly, as Bergqvist is up the road by about 2.5 seconds.
Yes, he is, but that may have helped out a little bit here for Ryan Kings. He's still staying within about 2.5 tenths of a second. Kings looks like he had a better run there through turn 4. Let's see if he's able to be a little bit fiercer on the binders. Remember, he looks good through this middle sector. It's in the second part of the second sector that he starts to suffer.
Will he be able to make a move? Not into turn 6, at least for now. He's got maybe one more good chance, and doesn't seem like Bradley Holly is fazed at all by that. I think we are just getting close to the end of this one, because Cervantes is now into turn 12, 4.5 seconds ahead of Raymond Day. Not sure if there was a slowdown or something that caught up the 77. But he's continued to lose a good chunk of time on this final lap. Hopefully he's got enough fuel, actually. We'll have to check on that. Meanwhile, through the final turn, Danny Cervantes. He might not be in the championship hunt, but he is certainly taking points and pride today in Hungary as he wins in round 6.
A really commanding drive from pole here for Danny Cervantes. Raymond Day up 4 positions. One of our bigger movers on the day is going to be able to capture second. That is a fantastic drive for Raymond.
Only a top 5 for Bradley Holly in the end, as we watch a few of the fossil racing cars come around to wrap it up. And it looks like Stanton going to be able to get 9th. Behind them, see Pete Thomas coming through, chasing down Jeffrey Smith as well. And unless we get a very poor exit out of the 719, not likely to see those positions change. And then Pete Bledon ahead of Randy Gross. 20 cars on the lead lap at the finish. Galanotto was the last of them. Adam Young in the end looks like he's going to get an 18th even. Charging up from his 25th position. That's going to wrap up this race. So, as we mentioned, it was Danny Cervantes, our winner out there by a handy 5 seconds over Raymond Day. It was Peter Newhook who finished 3rd and Kevin Bergqvist in 4th position. Bradley Holly, who unfortunately got punted early on, went all the way down to 10th and was able to collect himself merely to 5th today. Ryan Kings did better than he qualified, from 8th to 6th, as Ian Cabana was 7th, and then Mark Kalin was 8th, down from 4th. Jerome Stanton, 9th place for him today, as Jacques Boucher rounds out your top 10.
Coming home in 11th, it was Patrick Cowgill, followed by Parker Muirhead, with Jeffrey Smith and Pete Thomas behind them. Pete Bledon was tied for your biggest mover on the day, up 7 positions to come home 15th, followed by Randy Gross and Jason Larson. Adam Young, your other big mover, up 7 as well. He was 18th, followed by Malcolm Foster and Robert Galanotto.
Stacey Hunter, Todd Lewis, and Kelly Greenhoe were all a lap down Hunter Lewis due to black flags. Greenhoe, unfortunately, internet connection costing him. Daniel Williams and Baron Hilton DNFs in the end today of our 25-car field, but Peter Newhook grabs a valuable podium and scores more points than Bradley Holly, allowing him to try and get back into the hunt for things. Peter, it looked like that fight essentially from 3rd on down was pretty intense for much of the race.
Yeah, I'm hoping you guys can make sense of it for me, because I was having trouble following the sorting out of the order from in the race, but it was a lot of fun. That was one of the more active leaderboards that I think I've seen.
Certainly did. Now, towards the end, you were gifted a spot when we had one of our front runners have to serve. I believe Kalin had to come in to serve a penalty for off-track limits. Did you know that had happened, or did it just basically unfold and your eyes kind of bug out as you come around the last corner?
No, yeah, just gifted that one to me on a silver platter.
Well, that is always a nice feeling, being able to romp away with that one, allowing you to get back in the hunt a little bit on the championship. Do you think coming to the second half now, you're going to try and carry this momentum to take another championship?
I mean, I'm gonna throw out a request to Mark Kalin to take out Bradley Hawley a few more times. Past that, I'm not sure I've got much of a chance, but anything can happen the rest of the season.
All right. Well, I like the creativity. Congratulations on a third. Anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, thanks to the family. Thanks to, I don't know what my paint shout out is tonight, but it was a shout out to the FAF Porsche guys that won in Daytona this weekend. So little Canadian representation in motorsport. Big shout out to you guys. And thanks to the top guys in this league, because it's so much fun driving against these guys when you know that it's going to be clean week in, week out. And if anything does happen, that they're going to be on the radio pretty quick.
Yeah, we enjoy that camaraderie as well. And that was Peter Newhook, who finished third in the number 87, with Danny Cervantes taking his second win of the season. DJ has caught up with him.
I have indeed. Danny, a pretty commanding drive, although you were under some pretty intense pressure there at the beginning.
Yeah, it was pretty intense pressure till an incident happened between my two teammates. I guess the ABS kicked in for him, and he took Brad out on accident. But besides that, it was pretty clean sailing until after pit stops, and I saw that Raymond Day was behind me 6 seconds, and then 3 laps, he was 3 seconds behind me, so I had to pick up the pace from there. It didn't help that after pit stops, I caught up the cars, a couple back markers on my pit cycle that lost a couple seconds there. But overall, it was a pretty good win.
Well, this is a track that is sort of notorious for being hard to overtake on. And I mean, how were you dealing with those back markers? It looked like you were just kind of taking your time a little bit, not wanting to push too hard. Is that accurate, or were you in a hurry?
I was trying to mitigate any close side-by-side action, because I know this track's also pretty difficult with off tracks. I got 12 of them myself, so I knew if I got into it with one of them, I could have gone on a drive-through. So I was just taking my mind till I found I was losing too much time, so I had to just send it through the chicane. And even then, I still lost a whole second through that pass when I passed one of the back markers there.
Well, looking forward to next week, we head up the hill to Bathurst. How are you feeling about that very, very difficult circuit?
Me and Bathurst don't really get along with each other. I don't really have a lot of practice. I think last season I got taken out lap 1. That's pretty much my experience with it. But overall, hopefully, I could be able to put laps in and get another good result.
Well, best of luck to you out there, my friend. Anybody you'd like to thank for the victory today?
All the Waterback guys, Brad, Mark, for helping me out and supporting us in the team. All you guys at GSRC for putting on a great broadcast. PRL and their stewards. It makes it an awesome league to race in. Gets us away from the crazes and officials.
Well, thank you so much. That was Danny Cervantes, your winner here today. Joe?
And that's going to wrap up the interviews, but not our broadcast. We've got more to come at Spa-Francorchamps in a moment with the GT3 Pro AM Series. Stick around for more action in the Precision Racing League.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works. and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Precision Racing League. We're getting ready to watch the GT3 Pro AM Series here at Spa-Francorchamps. And the spa usually means a relaxing day for most people, but it is only excitement and thrills for race fans. Let's see what this track holds in store. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to and named by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast, and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round. Well, DJ, GT3 cars here is going to feel right at home, considering we have the 24 hours of Spa here every year. So should this be as much fun as that?
It should indeed, Joe. These cars are going to absolutely love taking to this track, but it's not without some difficulties, specifically that whole Sector 2 from the run from Lacombe really all the way down to Stavelot. It's a medium speed corners pretty much all the way throughout, but the most important areas to get right, you want to get the run from Stavelot all the way down to the bus stop, as that presents a wonderful overtaking opportunity, as does in going into Lacombe, that run from La Source up through Eau Rouge and Rétillon and down the Kemmel Straight. But the interesting talking point for tonight is really going to be about setup. Are drivers going to trim out the car to try to get as much speed as possible going down those straights and being able to overtake, or do they maybe trim down the car a little bit more, get more downforce into it to try to hold position through that tricky Sector 2?
Yeah, it's a big question mark for me, but we'll see how the leaders do it, because up at the top, it seems like Daniel Krasowski cannot be beaten. 4 wins out of 4 rounds, but Kazuki Fujita, who is not quite on this this graphic yet, was within half a second of him at the line at Sebring. Trepannier's been consistent, but has been a little bit back and forth in terms of speed. Just seems to be able to bring home good results, but not necessarily always close to Daniel. Menino and Olivier, as well as Genet, in a tight little fight down there for third, fourth, and fifth. And we'll see how that shakes out as we now look at the AM drivers as well.
In those AM drivers, it's 2 wins for Juan Benitez that sees him on the top of the charts. But from there on out, it gets very, very close, with Kwok Nin having only a 1-point advantage over Dewey Kang. Jean-Claude Langlois about 9 points back from them, and Alexander Breton, well, he sits only 2 points back in fifth.
As for the team standings right now, it is ASR Esports who are holding a respectable lead, but not a comfortable one. Precision Racing Island Boys, they have been fast. They've been jumping up multiple positions round after round. So up to second, only one more place to go from there if they continue that trajectory. NTR Motorsports not too far behind them with only a 3-point gap as well. Back to SRT Esport Black, and then you got to jump to Jordan Mist, who have been in the reverse direction from the PRIB team, and that has just been going downwards since the early stages. Let's now take a look at today's race details.
In those race details, it is round 5 of 9 in this GT3 Pro AM series. It'll be a 40-minute race with open setups, but a fuel limitation, so drivers will have to come down pit lane at one point during the course of the race. Drive-through penalty at 13, which can be very, very important here at Spa. Disqualification at 17, but bonus points are available for pole, fastest lap, or 3 incidents or less.
We've got qualifying going already, and Elliott White currently holds the provisional pole position by about 0.2 of a second. Now, they normally have 4 laps that they are allowed to run in this 10-minute qualifying session, but because the laps are no quicker than about 2:14, 2:15 for even the quickest guys, they are only able to get 3 at max. So the pressure is on to not only be fast quickly, but also keep it clean because of those track limits out here, DJ.
Yeah, very easy to go a little bit wide, pick up those off tracks around the corners, and so you have to be very, very careful to be precise on these laps. You certainly do not want to miss qualifying here, as despite the fact this is a track where you can get some good overtaking done, it still will be very, very detrimental to start back in the field.
Teddy Lodick putting himself up into 5th. He's still looking for that podium finish, so wonder if this is a good shot for him. Only 2 positions to go in the race if he can keep that 5th place. But that's just after his first lap, mind you. And in fact, I think he's only going to get, he's only going to get one more try. He must have come out just a little late. We're still waiting on Aaron Webb. Oh, and Daniel Krasowski. Krasowski missed his first lap, so he doesn't have one on the board. Does he even have time to get a 3rd lap in as well?
It's going to be very, very close for him, but I think he just might have enough time to be able to pull it out. But this is setting up for all kinds of intrigue here in this series, Joe.
Gonsalves in the 73 just took 6th place. So drivers are continuing to find pace out there, looking to see who's going to be coming across the line next. Looks like Tremblay, but he's on an out lap, I think, unfortunately. Kwok Nin, AM driver doing very, very well today. He's in 8th, but that last lap did not improve. Krasowski's now into Piff Paff here, back and forth between the right and the left. And that was a little wide. I think he was within the track boundaries, but he's certainly flirting with things, especially if this is his only other lap.
Yeah, this will be his only shot at it. So if he goes off track here, that is it. He'll be starting near the back of the field. He has really got to hustle and be clean. Much better to be starting up in, say, the top 10 than all the way down in dead last.
Absolutely. And through Blanchemont, that one was definitely within the boundaries. And my timing is showing he is absolutely well within his best lap. So coming out of the bus stop chicane into the line, using every inch of the curb that he can. He crosses. It's a 2:15.1. That'll put him on the front row next to White.
And White just had a spin coming down through Pujols, so his day is going to be done. Unfortunately, he's not able to respond.
All right, we're on the last lap for everybody at this stage. Menino is going to be the next one through. He looks like he might be able to improve. He's up by 0.2, and he's 0.2 behind Elliott right now. If he can hold on to this, this might mean pole for the number 3.
It may indeed. He was purple through the third sector, which is the run from campus down to about Curve Paul Frere. So he looks very, very quick here. Let's see what the SRT eSport Black driver has.
Oh, it's weaving between 1 and 0.2. This is going to be close. Is this going to be good enough? He comes to cross the line. 2:15.0. That is not going to be pole, but he will take the front row away from Kozlowski.
All right, a good run there for Menino. We focus back here on the number 6 as we're waiting for the last couple of drivers to cross over the line. This is Dominic Olivier. He is not going to be able to complete any times, but he will be starting off in 5th position, it looks like.
Yeah, nobody's able to cross from here. The next one across will be Desjardins, and he still hasn't gone through Blanchimont. So Olivier will have to settle for this 5th position as the clock ticks down to about 0, and the qualifying is done for round 6 today. Round 5, rather. Let's go through that starting order. Elliott White puts it on the pole with Dave Menino next to him. And then it is Daniel Kozlowski, our only winner so far this season, in 3rd, as Kazuki Fujita will be P4. Then it is Dominic Olivier in 5th today. After that, it is Teddy Lowendick in 6th, followed by Jeremy Gonzalez in 7th. Jared Williams, good enough for 8th, followed by Kwok Nin. Much better qualifying for him. The highest AM even, starting from 9th, as Diego Moraes will be P10.
Vincent Trepanier will be starting off in 11th, followed by Kevin Norris with Tommy Brisson and Jean-Marc Tremblay behind them. Arnaud Genet will be to the inside of row 8, followed by Jean-Claude Langlois with Juan Benitez and Edward Nelson in row 9. Alexandre Breton will be 19th, and Dewey Kang rounds out your top 20.
21st goes to Marc-Andre Desjardins with Josh Slade in 22nd. Then it's Jordan Kuntz in the 23rd position. Aaron Webb, 24th for him, followed by Cody Hatch in at 25th. Alan Roth, the last one to set a time in at 26. And Jerome Bertome will grit up at the back of the field, failing to put a time in qualifying. Got a few onboards, and we'll start with everybody's favorite here, Teddy Lowendick. I've been told to preview, and he said a day at the spa was the theme. I do like it. No full face mask, though. I'm disappointed there, Teddy. He didn't go whole hog on that one, but I do give you props for at least getting a little bit on the nose. But anyways, let's go to Juan Benitez, our next one, starting from 17th. Here today, giving us his triple screen perspective. Quadruple screen, actually. He's got one up ahead. Arnaud Genet going to be the next one on the board, starting from 15th position with a VR headset. And then you got Kevin Norris as well, who's going to be starting from 12th out here. And then finally, it is Aaron Webb, who joins us once again. And the AM driver going to be beginning from 24th, farthest down of our onboards here today. Here we go, DJ. Cars are already on their way behind the Porsche pace car. I'm looking forward to this one.
As am I. It's going to be a big draft battle, and look out for those Lamborghinis and BMWs. A lot of power in a straight line. They're going to be very, very fearsome when you get to the Kemmel Straight.
Remember, this is the GP course here, so they will have to attack La Source as their first turn under green. And off the last corner, Elliott White with a very early start, green flag. And look at that, Kozlowski's able to jump Menino on the start. Now Olivier going to try and take 3rd away as well as he sends it in deep, manages to get to the inside, down under the hairpin behind him. Little bit of a stack up as a few cars hitting one another, but nothing drastic so far. Everybody's through the first turn as we come to Eau Rouge.
Yeah, and Olivier able to get in front of Menino, but Menino now on the attack, and he's got Kazuki Fujita hot behind him as well. Big off into the back. That's one of the Porsches spinning around. I believe that's Gonzalez.
Oh, and he takes someone with him. I think Genet. Oh, and a few more cars. It's going to be a big pileup in the back. Oh, my goodness. Almost coming to a halt behind them. Looks like Breton is involved. Josh Slade as well. We'll get a full rundown of that later. But that was a disaster for everybody, basically 18th on back.
Yes, it was. Whoa, big poke to the inside there. That's the Audi of Teddy Lowendick as the 87 of Trepanier is around.
Oh, championship contender finds himself with a very bad start to this race. So second place in the points is going to have to work hard to salvage something out of this one. He's already to 22nd. Meanwhile, White leads Krasowski. Olivier sits in third. Menino fourth. Fujita still in P5, but we've seen him be fast in races.
We certainly have some very, very good speed normally behind the wheel of that 320 as they work their way through. Fagny's now coming around. Olivier starting to pull away from that gap behind him. I think he's going to be happy to be able to pull that out. But Menino trying to hone in behind him, but he has got to be worried about that fearsome red and black Lamborghini honing in on his rear wing.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be tight. And this is Lamborghini versus Lamborghini. The red and black 320 has the inside coming up into Blanchimont. They're going to stay wheel to wheel, going way off into the exit. And Menino finds himself having to lift to give the time back. Teddy Lowendick now gets promoted up into fifth.
I like that a little bit there from Kazuki Fujita. He left Dave Menino plenty of room and basically said, if you want to make this mistake, you go right ahead and make it. I will let you do it. Good aggressive driving there from the 320.
Had another incident for Genet out of Blanchimont. So I believe he was involved in the first one, which we've got the replay ready for, coming up through the Eau Rouge corner and out of Radillon, but we're gonna wait before we go to that replay because here we go again. And this time it's Krasowski working on White, but he gives him a bump draft instead. So our two leaders not changing positions, and Daniel once again going to use the slipstream instead of going for a straight up attack.
Well, and remember what Daniel told us last time out at Sebring when he was fighting up for the lead a little bit and then found himself behind. He ended up going into fuel conservation mode. I wonder if that's a little bit of what he's thinking about right now.
Yep, I'm pretty certain that's what he's thinking. He's told us as such in previous races that he's content to sit back there. And here is the incident. Oh, just fires off, and just like in real life, that is a serious danger coming up through there. He did the right thing. He just kept it parked, but unfortunately, who was that second one that looks like he lost? And then from there, it just kind of cascaded down.
And that's a lot of times what you can see. Drivers get a little spooked when they see a stationary car at the top of Eau Rouge. We watch it here. There you can see, oh, that was just a little bit of a lick there for the Porsche, and that sent everybody cascading into one another.
Wow. So we've got Nelson on pit lane, Gonzalez, Slade drove it back. So did Marc-Andre Desjardins and Alexander Breton did. Wow. Nothing that he really could have done in that situation there. That car pinched in the middle. And here's Trepanier's incident. This one was a solo spin.
Just caught a little bit of that inside curving, Joe, that upset the balance of the Audi. We often like to talk about that Audi, very, very twitchy. It's a car that you've really got to be fine with the way that you drive it. Oh, and that's another spin around there. That's the 34 losing it.
Yep. And that was Josh Slade who had that incident. He had a second one as well, I think, through Rivage. By the way, Marc-Andre Desjardins is our first of those involved in that craziness that is able to get back into it. And look at this, coming through Eau Rouge, tight up to the rear of Jean-Marc Tremblay. Kevin Norris going to see what he can do to try and take away 10th position. Gets a good slipstream. puts his nose to the inside coming up to Lacombe. Not much of a defense from Tremblay. And in fact, he doesn't even try to outbrake him into the corner. So Norris up into the top 10.
And look at that spatial awareness from Kevin Norris. You could see the shadow of that Audi on the right front of that BMW. Just absolutely precision perfect.
By the way, not too far ahead of this group, Kwok Nin still leads the AM category here today in 7th position. Kwok having a fantastic race out there, but there's still a lot of it left to go. We're only on lap 3.
Hard to believe that we're only on lap 3 with as much action as we've already seen, Joe. But your leaders here, Elliott White, Daniel Krasowski, and Dominic Olivier, continue to run 1, 2, 3, 4. They're starting to gap a little bit on Kazuki Fujita. Fujita, though, looks like he is faster through the 2nd and 3rd sectors. Loses a little bit of time when they come to the straightaway. So I think that 320 may be trimmed down a little bit more.
Let's remember, Dominic only had 1 qualifying lap in, so he may be a little bit faster than what his qualifying implied. And last week he was definitely in the battle until, unfortunately, he got a little bit shoved into the barriers coming into Sunset Bend. So is this his chance to redeem himself? And it certainly seems like he's got the pace to try and challenge, as he's actually run down the 27 and the 33.
Yeah, he has, but he has got to be careful. Fujita been able to get that gap down to 1.1 seconds, so I think this could become a 5-car battle as Fujita continues to tow along Teddy Lowendick, who is just driving the wheels off of that Audi at this point, the highest placed Audi out on track.
Will we get to see a shoey here today for Teddy Lowendick? He's been teasing us with it, getting close at times, up and over the crest of Radion. And it looks like everybody's clean this time. There we go, back to the spa day. Not sure what shoes you wear at a spa. Flip-flops? Can't drink out of those.
I mean, I was going to say maybe sandals, but that's even going to be harder to drink out of.
Ooh, and Krasowski took the lead. Krasowski actually overtook White this time. Maybe he saw Olivier coming and thought, I can't sit around today. No point in trying to hover on the rear of that car if I am stuck 3rd in line. So P1 for the number 33.
He gets himself ahead, and he will be very, very happy with that. Now just try to get that car to build a little bit of a gap. He's already got it to 0.4 of a second. Look at this, Joe, just a couple of corners. He's starting to streak away a little bit from Elliott White.
Yeah, I get the sense there was definitely some speed hiding in the background for him, and we've had another issue with Roth and Bertome and Lacombe. This one started with, I think, Roth making contact in the back of Jerome.
Yeah, I think you're right about that as we get ready to maybe check out the replay, but both drivers at least able to continue on and keep going.
Here we go, got this one spooled up. Yeah, coming into the corner. Oh, almost looked like Roth was under attack in the first part of the corner, and then suddenly the second part, I wonder if that curb just popped the car up and he couldn't really keep it out of the rear of Bertome.
I think that's exactly what happened there, Joe, and that was Vincent Trepanier coming up behind them. Remember, out of position courtesy of that first place. So you watch it here. Let's check on board. Just thrown a little bit, yeah, caught over the curb, caught a little bit of that interior curbing in the grass, just not able to slow the car down.
Sad to see after those two made it through the incredible opening wreck and wound up still getting into one another later on. Meanwhile, this is our leaders coming down the hill. Elliott White still at about 0.4 of a second. And the good news for him is he's close enough that he should at least be towed along, although I'm not sure that he's going to have a chance at a pass on Krasowski here.
No, it really all depends on his exit off at the top of Radion there. And he's able to get that gap under 0.3 of a second. He's certainly closing on the Kemmel Straight. Very, very close behind. He got it down to about 1/10 of a second. So I get the sense that it's there if he wants it. He may just be the one in fuel-saving mode now.
A little bit of a pass there between Menino and Kwok Nin, or it actually might have been a defense there from Menino. Man, from starting on the front row, Dave's been having a bit of a rough day once the green flag fell.
Yeah, he really has. Down 5 positions, just struggling a little bit. It seems like not exactly able to do everything that he wants to do. And he's just been losing time hand over fist to all of the drivers around him.
I can confirm that was a pass on Kwok Nin from Minino. That won't hurt Kwok too bad, although it does put him just one position ahead now of Diego Moraes in the 93, the next driver down in the AM category. So that is the battle for the amateur lead in this race.
Exactly. Moraes about 0.7 of a second behind Kwok Nin. There you can see him on your screen, that blue Audi. So this is, for the first time in a little bit while, we have seen a straight up battle for that AM that AM top step. Normally we tend to see a couple of pros separating them out.
And Moraes really needs to get his foot down when it comes to the championship. So many drivers have talked about his speed and how incredible it is, but just doesn't seem to be able to get the results consistently. As we take a look at this fight now down through Blanchimont between Langlois and Benitez, but Benitez can't keep it up in the dirty air behind the 41 as we now watch the onboard cam.
Yeah, Joe, and that's where you really start to getting to talk about setup of the car. If you're running a little bit more downforce, you can keep it relatively flat out going through Blanchimont, maybe just poking your nose a half a line off to get some clear air on the right or left front of the car. But if you're trying to trail directly behind and you're trimmed out, you have got to lift off. Otherwise, you are going to find yourself way off to the side in that runoff.
Ooh, we might want to go to Elliott White. He didn't have the best of runs through Eau Rouge. Olivier is looking pretty close. You can see he's even trying to show himself in the mirrors. I don't think he's close enough, though, as they all hit the brakes down into Lacombe. Man, he gets within a car length, though.
Yes, he does. That Porsche known for being pretty good on the binders, so he may think that out a little bit more and try to get it down there. Now, I believe it, the last time I checked, the Lambo does have a little bit of a straight line speed advantage over the Porsche, although the Porsche is known as being pretty slippery. So I've got to imagine here for Olivier, he is going to be thinking about maybe some alternate areas to make this pass.
And for the impartial viewer, look at that behind them. Kazuki Fujita and Teddy Lowendick have caught them now. It is indeed a 5-car fight for the lead.
And crucially, Kazuki has that down under about 0.7 of a second here, which means when they come out of Stabilo here on this lap, and again when they come out of La Source, he will get a big helping of draft from that Porsche up in front of him.
Here we go. Let's see how this plays out here. It's been getting a little cloudy here in Belgium as the sun has gone away momentarily, giving them a little bit more grip on the track surface through Blanchimont. Krasowski still leads by about 0.6 of a second, unable to shake them, going way wide. Olivier using every inch of the track and then some. Oh, but he's got to slow down, I think, and Fujita's going to try and get to the inside. Does manage to get the overlap, but can't get through. And as they now come out of the corner, looks like he served enough of the penalty, but Olivier is under serious threats.
Under very serious threat, and Teddy Lowendick just licking his chops at this battle. All right, here's the crucial corner. They've got to all nail this coming off of La Source. It looks like there that Olivier is able to get a little bit of a better run. Teddy Lowendick, though, getting a good one as well. They're all going to tuck up behind in the draft here and try to time this out coming up through Eau Rouge.
This has proven a little costly. The leaders are starting to distance themselves up ahead in P1 and P2, and Olivier's not looking good. Here comes Fujita, and in fact, he's even given the inside. Dominic not defending as they approach the Lacombe chicane. He is through. Will we get another one? No. Teddy's going to continue to hang back.
All right, and maybe Teddy Lowendick here that's thinking a little bit about, whoa, late move there for Teddy Lowendick, trying to go up to the inside there through Malmedy. It didn't pay off, but Olivier's got to be a little bit scared because he knows Teddy is aggressive.
Wow, take it back. I didn't think he was going for anything. Thought he was going to stay patient, but Teddy's got the bit between his teeth. And as they all fly out of No Name, he's still right on top of him, just kicking up the dust, trying to see if he can get everything out of this Audi.
And this is the section of the track, this second and third sector, where I anticipate the Audi being a little bit better. Great run there out of Puhal. He's He's going to back off as they go through Fagnes here, trying to see if there's anything to be had.
He wants it. He was trying to find an opening, but Olivier just fed him all the way out to the outside there. And now he gets another bite with some big slipstream coming off of Stavolo. Here we go. Lowendick could maybe try and get up to fourth here. Fujita is starting to scamper away. He can't waste too much time dealing with this.
No, he cannot. He's certainly got it. That was a little bit of a clip of the gap there for grass there for Olivier. Here he's going to come, but Teddy just couldn't keep the power down through Blanchimont. He's going to have to try this again up Eau Rouge.
But nice and tidy down to the apexes, both apexes, all the way up to that big sausage curb. So Lowendick is performing admirably out here. And so is Olivier, dealing with all this pressure that he's having. He's already lost one position. He doesn't want to give up another. 23 minutes left to go. Kind of figured that maybe Teddy would try and save some fuel behind him. Use that to his advantage, just jump him in the pit stops, but he's not interested in that at all. Here we go as we ride on board with Kazuki, looking back at Dominic and Teddy up the Kemmel straight. He's going to have the slipstream, but I think because Olivier is also getting it from Fujita, yeah, this is not enough.
No, it's going to stall the both of them out just a little bit. Teddy's going to have to stay in line there as they go around. But look how much Olivier's been able to catch back up. Defensive line there from Dominic coming through Malmedy. He didn't want another repeat of what Teddy tried to do to him on the last lap.
I've had a couple takers in pit lane, but one that is not taking a pit stop is Alan Roth. He's had a black flag drive through for track limits for him. Out of Speaker's corner. And this is looking like it might be a tough one for Teddy. He's so quick through here, like you said, with that Audi just glued to the track. But Dominic Olivier's been quite defensive. At least he was last time. Not as defensive this time.
No, he holds it out there a little bit. I think for Teddy, my best option here is really try to get a good setup coming out of Rivage. Run it down through Speakers, down through Pujol, and then try to maybe make the move going down into Fagnes. That's a little bit of an unexpected area to make the pass, but those are the corners that's going to suit the Audi. He's finding it a little bit hard here to get a good draft on the straightaway, A, because of the straight line speed of the Porsche, and B, because Olivier continues to have that draft from Kazuki Fujita in front of him.
You're all flirting with that track limit there at the edge of Blanchimont, down into the binders once again, into the bus stop chicane. And a little bit of a bad run from Teddy Lowendick back in fifth position. He loses some distance to the Canadian, or the Floridian rather.
Yes, he does, but under braking, he's able to close up just a little bit. Let's watch the exits off of the corners. Teddy's still losing a little bit of time. Olivier looks like he's got a very, very good run here. About 0.3 of a second back. That's going to be within striking distance of that Lamborghini if he can just keep his foot in it coming up through Eau Rouge and Radion.
This is looking very good for Dominic. He could finally get that third place right back from Fujita. It's a great run. No, he lifts as he finally gets to the rear bumper of Kazuki, but that also allows Teddy Lowendick to start to close in and regroup after losing a little bit of time. And Kwok Nin, our lead, and the AM class has changed hands. Iago is now in 8th overall and at the points of the amateur class.
All right, a good run there from Iago Morris. That would look like a pretty simple pass coming up into Lacombe.
Oh, this is Tommy Brisson. Jean-Marc Tremblay, I think, no, didn't have contact with him. This was a solo spin as he held up about 3 cars, Benitez, Langlois, and Jean-Marc Tremblay, having to really avoid him coming down through the Lacombe chicane. This is the battle between Langlois and Benitez now for 12th position.
Benitez poking his nose to the inside there, trying to see if he's got anything coming through Pujol. Not exactly going to work, and I don't think he was able to carry enough speed to make a move into Fagnes. Indeed, he's just going to stay behind here, not try to go for anything too aggressive. This is Ferrari versus Ferrari, so it's all going to be down to setup and courage.
I'm also keeping an eye on our two leaders. Here they are right now on the screen, Krasowski and White. White's been hanging behind him. Does he want to, though? Is White now playing the same game we've seen Daniel do and just save fuel halfway through the race now? So probably too early for him to use that strategy to pit in. Going to wait as late as he possibly can. And across the line, a mere 4 tenths separating first and second place. Fujita, is he pulling him back in? It's down to 1 second again, I think.
Yeah, he is, Joe, and I think that's because Dominic White here may have a little bit more speed in him than Krasowski. Krasowski may be saving fuel as well up front, and so he could be backing everybody up, and they do not want to let this battle go anymore. I think if I'm Dominic White, I try to push ahead. Fuel numbers go out the window. Just go for it.
Let's see if he follows your advice. No. In fact, he's bump drafting him. So, well, he's kind of thinking like you, but instead he's just trying to take both of them with him, seeing if he could have his cake and eat it too. But it cut down to 7 tenths of a second by the end of the Kimmel Straight. Fujita is coming.
Fujita coming very, very strong. He's got about a 4 tenths of a second gap back to Olivier. Teddy Lowendick about the same gap back. So these drivers are definitely starting to accordion together here a little bit. This race for number one, it is on.
Any one of these five, I think, could have this, especially if we get a mistake erupting towards the front. The rest behind could so easily get collected inadvertently. And speaking of getting collected, gathered up in this fight, Tremblay, Benitez, and Langlois goes to Tremblay, who pushes back into 11th, but Benitez in 12th, having to play defense on Langlois now.
Yes, he is. Ooh, as there you see them coming around. There was a little bit of a mistake, I think, from Kazuki Fujita, and that has allowed for Olivier to catch right up behind him coming off of Stavolo.
Oh, he is certainly putting the pressure on. Yeah, that was coming out of Fany's. The 320 had a bit of an off. He caught it, didn't hit the wall, and once again taking what may have been a little bit of a 1X there. Just coming to the edge of the track, braking hard now down for the bus stop chicane. He's still within 1.2 of those in front of him, and he rebuffs the 69.
Not able to hold it out. I'm going to have to take a look at the top speeds because it seemed like once he got that Lamborghini up to cruising speed, it was just able to pull away a little bit, and that may explain some of the reason for the pull that he has been able to exert.
Jean-Marc Tremblay, gonna get the order right there, and the 127 comes into pit lane, so he says now's the time to take a fuel stop. This is a bit of a thirsty track, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw other cars start to come in as well, as our leaders once again approach the braking for Lacombe, and no pass from White over Krasowski. Fujita stays put at about 1.4 behind, not able to close in like he was before that time.
No, he was not, as they come in now diving through the corner once again, trying to see if there's anything to be had. These three drivers, it is just absolutely millimeter close between all of them.
And how much do they want to fight as well, knowing that Fujita seems to usually be able to try and chip away at P1 and P2. They don't want to slow each other up too much, maybe ride his coattails with a better shot, aim for the stars there, take a potential victory, maybe a second place instead of just a third amongst that trio. But the other big question, as I just alluded to earlier, who pits in this time? Who stays out?
I've got to think that these leaders are going to want to stretch a little bit longer. I think right now, if they come out, they would be coming out relatively around Dewey Kang and Marc Tremblay. They may find themselves in a little bit of traffic, and that is not what you want to have happen. I've got to think that they're going to try to stretch this out as long as they can go to minimize running in any slower cars, Joe.
All right, Krasowski and White stay out, and the rest of them in the top five also stay out. So no takers. Once again, listening to you, but it looks like Kevin Norris is going to try something different from 10th place.
All right, Caven, that's a good idea for him. See if he can maybe deposit himself out. There is a gap after a few drivers. I'm also seeing Juan Benitez coming in pit lane.
That is correct. The 55 taking fuel as White pulls the tow on Krasowski. How long will he stay behind? Would it be all the way to the pit stops, or is he going to try and get a pass before they come in? This time it's another big lift out of the 27.
Joe, I've got to think that you may want to try to be aggressive coming down really on the run from Fagnes all the way through Stavolo and into the bus stop. That is where you want to try to make the pass, because you do want to be ahead when you go into pit lane, if at all possible.
Kevin Norris has returned to the track. In fact, he is our highest pitter now. That's 774. So there you see him flying down the Kimmel Straight. That's Aaron Webb. That is for position in front of him. However, Webb yet to take his fuel. So we'll see if this holds up to 774, because he's definitely catching up to him quite quickly as we come back to our leaders once again and down into Fagnes.
Down into Fagnes he goes. And building a little bit of a gap there over White. It's about 0.7 of a second. Fujita holding it under 1 second there from himself to White. So definitely starting to close in behind. Not a whole lot of changing with these drivers. This is really just the mental part of this race, where you're trying to get into the other drivers' heads, hitting your fuel deltas, trying to do what you can do.
Absolutely. Behind them, it's starting to get close once again between Fujita and Olivier. Haven't seen any moves out of Dominic recently, so he could be having the similar thoughts to Elliott White. Whoa, and White is in. White is going to try and undercut, and it looks like Kazuki made a late call to follow.
All right, so the two Lamborghinis coming on in. Now that is going to change things up, especially for Dominic Olivier, as he is not going to be able to pull that draft in front of him. This could be a good opportunity now for Teddy Lowendick to strike if he is able to. The other flip of that is Daniel Krasowski up front. He is going to be putting everything he has down. It is hammer time.
And he's got no one put along behind him either, so he's basically just got himself to worry about. No pressure from the rear. And Teddy Lowendick, does he try and take the spot this time? Doesn't look like he is close enough. Olivier got a great exit coming off of Radillon. So the 69 retains second place. Elliott White does return as the highest pitter now in 5th place. And actually, I think, yeah, with a huge clear track in front of him.
And that is absolutely mega here, specifically through the second sector. Now, where it may run into trouble is if Teddy Lowendick could be able to jump him a little bit. It's courtesy of the draft that he's able to pull on the longer straights. It's a give and take that you have here, Joe, on a long track like this, such as Spa, where you need to worry about the draft and not losing time running by yourself, but you also don't want to be held up through the middle sector of this track.
Behind them, Roth pits, so that means Krasowski, Olivier, Lowendick, and Nin are the only 4 to make it to lap 13 here without a pit stop. And Lowendick within 0.4 of a second of Dominic in the 69 in front of him. Got to think that all 4 of these drivers will likely be coming in this time through, but what will it mean for them after they exit the pit lane? 9.7 second stop, by the way, for Elliott White. That's the fastest we've seen other than Juan Benitez, who had a 9.2. Other than that, nobody's touched that.
Well, we've seen it here a couple of times, Joe. Drivers miscalculating their fuel. Teddy Lowendick looking a little bit of aggressive there going down to the bus stop. Let's see if these drivers opt to peel on in. 1, 2, 3. There they go.
Hey, remember when the MX-5s came here? We saw Ryan Kings completely miscalculate and lose a potential win with his fuel strategy. And let's see, do we have Kwok Nin? Yes, Kwok Nin coming in. That is everybody. Elliott White already up to the bus stop chicane as they all dive down into their pit stalls. It looked like everybody hit it cleanly. Krasowski, will he be back out on the top spot. He's rolling now, and it's going to be very, very close. Elliott White coming around the corner, and he's going to have a little bit better momentum, but he doesn't have the track position. Olivier almost gets by him. Still back into second place for Elliott White, but now Krasowski once again the leader, and behind them it's a battle between Fujita and Lowendick for fourth.
And Teddy gives up the ghost coming up the hill, but he'll get a nice advantage of the draft here. You can already see him starting to pull in behind that Lamborghini right now. The gap coming down under 0.2 of a second.
Both of them used a lot of the runoff there over Radillon, but I didn't see a black flag waved for either of them for track limits there. Breaking into Lacombe, Fujita will retain fourth place. It's not over for the lead. It's just a little bit more spread out. And you said it was hammer time before. It is really time to go now if they want to still try and hope for that win.
Yeah, they have got to really start going. And the biggest thing here for White and Olivier is they do not want to squabble with each other too much and let Daniel Krasowski run off into the sunset. If anything, they may need to work together a little bit, play a little bit of leapfrog down these long straights to try to see if they can catch up behind the back of that BMW.
Also had a little bit of a development in the AM hunt for this race. Diego Moraes, who did already take the lead, has extended his gap to Kwok Nin and put Kevin Norris between them. Norris is a pro, so Kwok's still second. Benitez is way behind him. It's still not over, but Kwok has got to start making some passes, including for position with Norris, if he wants to take the AM win over Iago.
Yeah, he's certainly got to start pushing there. You can see Kwok separated there with Kevin Norris in the middle. I think that's going to be a pretty tall order. We've seen it's a little bit more difficult than I anticipated to get passes done out here today at Spa.
Certainly has seemed like it. Not impossible, though. Seen some good ones out there as they come up towards Blanchimont. I'm also keeping a half eye on the leaders. Don't worry if that erupts. We'll definitely head right back there. And no, not nearly close enough this time as the Superman colored car flies away in front of them, hoping to see if he can get back in the game for the AM championship. He's got a 39-point gap up to Benitez. Right now he's going to pull at least a few on before this is done. Here we go again with Teddy Lowendick down to 0.2 of a second, less than 0.2 of a second here.
And you saw him poke his nose to the outside there. That was actually to break a little bit of the draft to make sure he didn't catch Fujita too early. Now they power down this long Kemmel straight. There you can see Teddy gaining in behind. Is he going to try to poke his nose to the inside? No, he's going to lift there. Didn't feel confident enough to try to make the move going down into Lacombe.
Might be too early. Maybe he's just sizing up to see what that slipstream can do. Sure, Teddy's already trying to think about that last lap. Do I want to wait till then? Is it worth trying to attack then? Or is that difficulty passing we were just talking about, meaning he can't try and get tricky? He has to overtake when he's got the speed. And down into Puhan. I think they've lost touch with Olivier at this point. It's about 2 seconds to that battle for P2.
Yeah, it is, and that battle starting to separate out a little bit to the tune of about 0.6 of a second. White starting to try to pull away a little bit here. Still only has about 1.3 seconds up the road to Daniel Krasowski, but Krasowski been able to go a lot faster there through some sectors to be able to try to grow that gap out a little bit more.
Ooh, a little bit of the dirt to the outside just being kicked up for a brief moment, taking every inch of the track. That gravel just kind of tossing things up briefly as we watch the Lamborghini of Elliott White maybe hope to satisfy himself with at least a second place as long as Dominic is not able to get around. He's still within about 1.1 seconds of Krasowski. Daniel could still make a mistake, so the 33 is not home free, even though he is looking likely to take a potential 5th win out of 5.
Yes, he is. Whoa! Very late on the binders. There was Dominic Olivier. That's going to make him miss off the corner a little bit and cost him valuable tenths to Elliott White.
Oof. Disappointment there for him. Up and over the hill. Krasowski up to 1.3 now. and picking up speed. 5 minutes left to go on the clock. We've had a high attrition rate. I have to imagine a lot of that is due to that opening wreck. We've lost Jordan Kuntz, Arnaud Genet, Marc-Andre Desjardins, Josh Slade, Alexander Breton, Jeremy Gonzalez, and Edward Nelson. So 20 cars out of 27 still rolling.
Yeah, definitely taking its toll as we continue to watch your leader there, Daniel Krasowski, working his way around. He's been able to grow that gap up to about a 10th here at this point, able to extend just a little bit over Elliott White. That's exactly what that BMW driver needs to do.
Krasowski made a big splash coming in and showing the speed that he has in this series, and then further proved it with his pit strategy, just knowing when to save gas, how to save it, and eventually get himself gaps like this towards the end of the race that make life that much more comfy for the 33. It's already got it up to 1.5 now out of Stavolo. So this time across the line, looking at just over 3 minutes left. That'll be 2 to go.
Yeah, 2 to go here, and that's really going to put the impetus. Ooh, it looks like Olivier's got a little bit of a run here if he wants it as they work their way through Blanchimont. Not lifting off. He's able to stay very close behind. Gap under 0.2 of a second, but I think he's going to back off. Doesn't want to make it here on this lap.
Out of the bus stop now. 2 to go for our drivers. Feeling the pressure at this point. Same thing with Fujita and Lowendick, who we took a brief glance at there. Up into the braking zone for La Source. Dominic not looking like he's close enough, but Elliott White probably takes no comfort in that, knowing that we're going to get a big tow to the 69. And as they come through Eau Rouge, let's see who gets a better exit.
All right, both flying their way over the corner, and it looks like Olivier's got a little bit of a run here if he wants it. Here he comes!
He's got the inside, and I almost think that looked like White lifting a little bit there.
Well, there comes in that strategy, Joe. Is White maybe thinking it is better to be behind when the white flag falls so he can take a good advantage of the draft? Now, granted, that is a bit of a gamble. If he maybe gets a bad run through La Source or something like that, he may not be able to respond.
Yeah, it seems very risky to me to give that up this late in the game. But he's out there and we aren't, so maybe he knows a little better than we do what's possible. Granted, the only thing is, I want to say White's only been fighting with Krasowski up to this point. Olivier's a new beast, and the BMW versus the Porsche might be very different trying to race against.
Well, for sure. The Porsche tends to be a little bit more nimble. It tends to be a little bit more oversteery as it works its way around, courtesy of the rear engine in the car. Now, the BMW, it's a little bit more of a boat. Very quick in a straight line, but it tends to understeer a little bit more. Porsche's a little bit more unpredictable, and it is definitely different to fight against.
All right, as they come out of Blanchimont, white flag is already in the hands of Barney at the flag stand. Coming off of that final turn, Krasowski's got one more to go to claim more than half the season's worth of victories here today. And Olivier is way ahead of White.
Yeah, Elliott White got a little bit of wheel spin coming off of the bus stop. The car just got a little bit sideways, Joe, and that's exactly the kind of error that I was talking about that could be potentially massively detrimental, as it now looks like Elliott White's not going to have a chance to make a move here coming up into Lacombe.
Yeah, way too far behind, a full second. But what about Teddy? Does he want that fourth place? Is he going to settle for fifth? As we got a car in pit lane that looks like Benitez. Oh! Our leader in the AM Championship with an extra stop. I'm not sure if that is a black flag, and I don't believe so, as we got a defense from Fujita and to Lacombe. So no pass for Teddy Lowendick. Oh, but we saw him try that before into Malmedy. Doesn't work the second time either. I think Benitez must have had a splash and dash. Yes, 4 seconds in his pit stall. Benitez miscalculated.
Fuel again coming back to bite these drivers at Spa. But we continue to watch the close battle on track. Teddy Lowendick is still under 0.5 of a second. He has just got to focus here through Pujol. This is where this Audi can get very, very quick if he drives it just right.
Looks a little far behind to me right now, but that's not to say he could gather it back up by the time they get out of Stavolo. This is where he needs to be incredibly fast, and he is gaining. Gets it down to 0.4 of a second, 0.3 of a second. This is exactly what he needs to do. Will this be enough? I don't think the podium is on, but he could get himself a 4th place. Great exit by Teddy Lowendick. The Audi is gaining on the Lambo.
This is all going to come down. There's the defensive move already from Kazuki Fujita. Teddy Lowendick wise to it, just trying to pop his way back out to take the outside line, going through Blanchimont. Here he comes. Is Teddy going to make the move?
And I'm afraid we're going to have to back out of this because Krasowski is coming around the final corner, and he is going to make it 5 for 5 here today at Spa. A win for Daniel Krasowski, and Fujita holds off Lowendick, who must have made an error as he's much farther behind now, but it is still a nice top 5 for him. Menino only 6 after starting on the front row just ahead of J.R. Williams.
Oh, and that looks like it's a car out of fuel. That's Kwok Nin limping across the line there a little bit, but he is lucky to be able to make it across. Kevin Norris just able to come in behind him. And yeah, Joe, I can report Teddy Lowendick just tried to go for the move around the outside of the bus stop, slightly outbraked himself, and that was all she wrote.
Moraes did win the AM race there, with Kwok Nin at least gathering up 2nd thanks to the extra pit stop from Benitez. And it looks like Langlois rounds out the podium in that group as we see the last of them now across the line, at least the last battling cars here today. That's going to send us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. We just watched round 5 in the GT3 Pro AM series for the Precision Racing League. Daniel Krasowski continues his steamroll as he wins yet another one, this time from 3rd on the grid. So he's got some challenges in terms of the pole position. Dominic Olivier wound up in 2nd ahead of Elliott White, who we're not sure what happened with our pole sitter with 2 to go. Almost looked like he gave up 2nd place. Could have been a little better, and that certainly hurt him, allowing Dominic through. Kazuki Fujita just off the pole position. Not as good as the 2nd place back at Sebring, but continuing to show that he may be a threat for a potential top 3 in the championship. Teddy Lowendick, speaking of a potential top 3, not there yet. Still another top 5 for him. I think that might be his 2nd or 3rd this season, as Dave Menino finished in 6th, somehow mysteriously losing pace compared to his qualifying after starting on the front row. J.R. Williams was 7th behind him as Diego Moraes takes the win in the AM class today, 8th overall, followed home by Kwok Nin, who was 2nd in the AM class, 9th overall, and Kevin Norris was 10th today.
Coming home in 11th, it was Jean-Marc Tremblay, followed by Jean-Claude Langlois, with Vincent Trepanier and Tommy Brisson behind them. Aaron Webb was 15th, followed by Dewey Kang and Juan Benitez, who had to make that splash and dash at the end, coming home only 17th. Cody Hatch was 18th, followed by Jerome Bethune, and Alan Roth rounds out your top 20.
After that, unfortunately, it's going to be DNFs for those behind, as it was a attrition-filled race, mostly due to a big accident at the very start. We do have our winner ready to talk to us, Daniel Krasowski, making it 5 for 5 here in the GT3 Pro AM series, and the 33 certainly threw us for a bit of a loop this time, because Daniel, we thought maybe that you'd do like before, just kind of wait behind Elliott and just save some fuel early in the race, but that was not the case. What made you decide to just go and lead?
Yes, that was going to be the plan, just to save fuel behind Elliott, but I wanted to see his pace first. Then I saw Kazuki and Dominic catching up to us, and I really didn't want to get into that battle, so I thought I had enough pace to pull Elliott away, and I think he was pretty happy about that, so we didn't have to deal with it. We got some room, and then I thought we would decide it after the pit stop.
And you did indeed. You came out well ahead of him. After that, was it mainly smooth sailing? Did you feel any pressure from behind?
Yeah, I thought I had pace on those guys, but obviously not. The delta wasn't increasing, so I thought I had to ace the final few laps, no mistakes, or they would catch me. There were a couple tenths within draft. So, and then at the end, it was interesting. I think Dominic and Elliott might have switched positions to see if Dominic could catch me. He was actually gaining on me a few tenths, so got my heart rate up a little bit, but there was only 2 laps left.
And that sealed up win number 5 already. Where are you going to stop here? Are you going to win every single race?
Well, I don't know. Next week, I have to buy that track first. Never even been on it, so we'll see what happens. But other than that, I feel pretty confident with the rest of the schedule.
Yeah, and that is going to be a tough one with Detroit. It'll be hard to stay out of trouble there. Anyways, anybody that you want to thank for today's victory?
Yeah, definitely. Today, I would like to dedicate this win to the Canadian trucker convoy that's camped out in Ottawa, fighting for our freedom. This one's for you guys. Thank you very much. Also like to thank RSR Esports. They have brought me on as a driver. Great bunch of guys. Can't wait to learn from them. They're a bunch of aliens. My fans, I know a lot of people watch this. Well, not a lot. I know a few. I really appreciate the support, but I especially want to call out my Polish karting mafia family that I know watch for sure, and all of them, Chris Galecki and Paul Galecki. Also like to thank you guys, GSRC. You guys put on a great broadcast. My girlfriend and my co-pilot, my dog, Brutus. He's always here just waiting for me to win.
All right. Glad he's able to support you there. That was Krasowski, Daniel Krasowski, our winner here today. I believe we've got Dominic Olivier up next. Our second place finisher, DJ, has caught up with him.
Dominic, that was a race that it seemed like you were constantly in a battle with. Are you able to calm down here a little bit more? Because I got to imagine that was pretty stressful from behind the wheel.
That was a tough race. This Porsche is impossible. I was just sliding through all the fast corners with very low wing just so I could keep up with the guys on the straight. Still couldn't barely keep up with them. It was very tough.
Well, I was going to ask you about the setup, so you nailed that for me. Talk to me a little bit about the pass that was made with a couple of laps to go there on Elliott White. Daniel theorized that may have been a move to see if you could get a little bit closer to him, or was that a on-track battle?
It was an on-track battle. I did it strategically just to be a little cheeky and get the jump on him just going into that last lap because I didn't exactly have the straight speed to fight. So he was being a good teammate as well, and he let me by to try and chase Daniel. So I mean, I don't think he battled it. He could have battled it, but I'm not sure if we could have caught Daniel if I had went up sooner. It seems like I was catching him a little bit, but it was boy oh boy, it was tough to do that.
Well, it certainly was. And speaking of tough, we go to Detroit next. Obviously, the Porsche probably going to be a little bit of a handful there. I'm thinking specifically coming onto the backstretch is going to be pretty tricky. But how do you like your chances there?
Every week I keep thinking, the Porsche is going to have its day, but it's still yet to have its day. It's just good. It feels good to be back on the podium. This car is an absolute handful. Daniel's driving really, really well. And this race, I tried my best to strategize, save fuel, which got me back up there in the mix. But yeah, Daniel is he's pretty handy in the car, and being in the BMW, it's just tough to fight against that. At Detroit, I don't expect big things from the Porsche, but we'll give it hell.
Well, I hope you do, my friend. We're looking forward to watching it. And let anybody you'd like to thank here for the run tonight.
Yeah, thanks to the guys at Precision Racing League. Thanks to you guys for doing awesome broadcasts. You guys just keep getting better and better. It's amazing to watch, even when you're in it as well. I'd like to thank the sponsors: RaceLab, NinjaTrader, GSRC, Advanced SimRacing, ButtKicker, RaceLab. That's about it.
Well, thank you so much. That was Dominic Olivier, your second place finisher. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with Elliott White, our third place finisher here today.
Indeed. And first thing I want to do with Elliott is try to clear up the mystery of 2 laps to go. Elliott, you were in a fight with Dominic, and it almost seemed like you kind of let him by. Was that intentional?
Intentional, I guess, yeah. I mean, I know I haven't been here for a ton of races, so it's kind of win or nothing is my thought process. And I know Dom's been here throughout the season, so I kind of had conceded to Daniel, conceded the fact that he was going to win. So I thought Dom had a better shot anyways. If Daniel happened to slip up and made a mistake, I thought Dom was faster. So for me, it made more sense.
Well, that clears it up some. We were confused as to why you'd let him go. We didn't think that a repass would be quite that easy. Even still, man, it seemed like you and Daniel looked like you had pretty decent speed, though you struggled to completely shake those behind you. Were you a bit surprised when he overtook you and let you just hang back and save fuel?
No, I mean, I was surprised I qualified P1, so I knew I didn't really have the race pace, and I felt like if I had even tried passing him or tried leading, I think we would have just lost time. And I was kind of just being pulled around the whole race, to be honest, by Daniel. I think you guys saw as soon as I lost him in pit stops. I mean, I kind of just dropped like a rock. So, yeah, it was just a story of getting pulled around, I guess, and being able to keep up just enough to save a bit of fuel.
Well, with the lack of attendance that you've been able to have, will we see you at Detroit? Because, boy, that's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, I hope so. Finally got some personal stuff settled and a place to race, so I'm hoping I'll be back. I've never actually done a race on Detroit. I've just tested there, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, best of luck on that. Anybody you want to thank for a podium today?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our sponsors at Precision. I'd like to thank Advanced SimRacing, ButtKicker, RaceLabs, and NinjaTrader. I appreciate them working with us and our guys. And I'd also like to thank Aaron and Jerome at PRL for letting me do this as always, and you guys for broadcasting. It's always nice to go back and watch.
That was Elliott White, third place here today from the pole. As up next, one more to talk to. Second in the AM category today was Kwok Nin, and DJ's with him.
I am indeed, Kwok. It seemed like a pretty tough battle out there for you the entire way, always sort of involved in action, but how was it from behind the visor?
It was pretty fun. A lot of tough moments where I was trying to make a pass or trying to keep up with the pros to hopefully save fuel, and I wasn't able to do that. Yeah.
So how much were you really thinking about fuel conservation over the course of this race? I mean, was that really factoring in from lap 1?
No, I was gonna pit at the regular time, but as soon as I start noticing I can't keep up with the pros, I tried to keep as close as I could just to try to save fuel, because I know Morris is really fast, and hopefully I could have fuel safe and got to jump on the pits, but I barely just missed them.
Well, with Iago coming in like that, and then one of the other title rivals for you having a bad day, with Benitez having a bad day, are you starting to eye a little bit of the championship here, or is this still a race-by-race type thing?
Of course, any type of race I do, every sessions we're in, I always aim for the top.
Fantastic, man. I love that confidence. Anybody you want to thank for this good second place in AM run today?
I want to thank y'all for broadcasting, PRL for hosting. I had a personal spotlight to Alex. I want to give a special thanks for him for helping me tonight and my family.
Well, thank you so much. That was Kwok Nin, 9th overall, 2nd in the amateurs. Joe?
Which is going to wrap us up with a big thank you to our sponsors before we go, of course, once again, to the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Head to majorsgarage.com. Use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. And ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. As well as RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media that we've got here. And also check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. Keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, next time out in a week, we'll be at both Bathurst and Detroit for the MX-5s and GT3s respectively. That's going to be a tough night. It'll be Monday, February 7th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And coming up next in just a few minutes, the Porsche Owners Club goes to Silverstone at 11 p.m. Eastern. So until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.